who I dare not get into an introduction, it's already been done, but Nikhil Chopra, curator of the current Biennale, Mariam Ram, who is part of the Biennale Trust, Bose Krishnamachari, one of the founders of the Biennale, and we are going to broadly discuss the past, present, and future of the idea of the Biennale. And it's always very interesting when we talk about the Biennale in other parts of the country and what has happened in Kerala for the last roughly 15 years. And, I think this is the sixth edition now, isn't it? So it's like that question that was asked in the comics about Superman. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? That's also, what is a Biennale? What exactly, is it an object? Is it a product? Is it a movement? Is it an institution? Is it a collective? Is it a cultural platform? Is it a commodity? Is it a conversation between the various strands of the art universe? Is it a space of resistance? So these are all issues that come up. Probably it's all of it and probably it's none of it. We don't know really, in the sense that it requires all the stakeholders concerned to derive the meaning from this plethora of identities and plethora of suggested meanings that float around. But one thing one can say that the Kochi Biennale 2012, the inaugural edition, came at a very interesting junction of art practice in India in a broad sense, if you want to call it that. First of all, there was the virtual collapse of the state platforms in the fields of the arts. Visual arts, also the performing arts. The academies, the NGMAs, the National Museum, the zonal cultural centers. They were faced soon after independence in the early 1950s. Cultural leaders like Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, Pupul Jayakar, they had all proposed this idea that the state must be a patron for the arts. The state must involve itself in developing a cultural ethos across the country, reflecting the diversity of the subcontinent and so on. With the result, a huge investment was made in those kind of platforms, the academies and the museums and the galleries and so on. But 50, 60, 70 years down the line, we all, those of us who have been in the cultural field for some time, we all knew how it had got completely emaciated, had depleted, had become meaningless, had become a hotbed of politics, had become a hotbed of corruption. And the last thing it was promoting or accommodating was the idea of creativity in the arts. So that moment of collapse was a very critical moment. I remember, for example, surveys that was done by the National Museum. The National Museum in Delhi covers about 70 museums across India. And in that survey, it found out that across the 70 museums, starting from the National Museum itself, there were 1,478 vacancies, which could not be filled because there were no adequate people to fill it, including the Director General of the National Museum, the Deputy Director General, the Associate Director, the curators for 8. The National Museum has 17 galleries, out of which 8 were shut down because there were no curators for it. The Chola bronze section, the Central Asian, they were all shut down because they were not able to find anything. So there was a sense of sclerosis. Something has coagulated in the blood and it's not moving. The entire vascular system is facing a collapse. And it was at that juncture where everyone, all the art events that you went for were agog with this thing that the state system has collapsed. It's in that moment that, very interestingly, Bose and colleagues came up with this idea of the Biennale, which made the basic proposition that artists should take control of this. Artists should take charge and revitalize this field. So that was one very interesting point at around that time, 2012, if you want. The other was the real surge of a new global market and a new set of commercial forces that, which were like encapsulated in the ideas of the art fairs and the, what do you call, the multiplying idea of auctions all over the place, where Indian art was really coming up and so on and so forth. Suddenly, there was this feeling that art from India had a global space, had a market value, but was also in the danger of getting commercialized entirely. The third interesting collapse that we faced around that time in the early 2000s, if you want, was the collapse of the Triennale idea. Before we had Biennales India, we had the Triennale, 1968, the first Triennale in Delhi, curated by the great Mulk Raj Anand. The first ever Triennale in the so-called developing world, in the newly liberated, newly decolonized nations, with a very clear agenda that art must speak for the oppressed, art must speak for liberty, art must speak for freedoms, and so on and so forth. It lasted 9 editions, exactly in the same way as the academies were made to run down, so too the Triennale also collapsed. And by the time we reached the 9th Triennale, somewhere around 2001, it just vanishes from the map of India. After that, we have never had, in the last 25 years, there has not been a Triennale. And nobody's asked a question. No, there's been no concern, no tears have been shed, there's been no obituary, there has been no editorial written, what happened, nothing. It just vanished. So it's that kind of, let's say, ecosphere in which the idea of the Biennale emerged and then took root. The only early exception towards this idea of taking art to the people, in my experience, there might have been others, but in my experience, the only exception was something that happened in the late 1960s and through the 1970s, roughly. Something done by good friend Mariam Ram's mother, Sarah Abraham, who initiated this idea of the Kala Yatras, which were a very interesting caravan of art plus artists in different vans and different makeshift vehicles, traveling through districts, traveling through villages, stopping and having exhibitions and so on. And it took, once Sarah stopped doing it, it took probably 30 years for that idea to come back, that art must connect with people. Art cannot be just in a white cube and in a gallery and in a museum and so on. So I think it's very interesting that this trajectory happened, and I'm personally very, let's say, very concerned that Sarah Abraham, who passed away last year, unfortunately, this daughter of Kerala, has not been acknowledged in the art world, not been acknowledged by this state. I'm sure she's one of those people who deserves the Raja Ravi Verma Puraskaram that Kerala has instituted, but but has never even been considered. So these are all some of the anomalies and some of the black holes within which art functioned, and because of which the idea of art connecting with a general public, art becoming a mass movement, took root so readily when the first Biennale came up. And we are fortunate, therefore, here to have 3 pillars of the system, if you want, Biennale system, if you want to call it. There is the vision, there is a curation, and there is the action person in the middle. And who has an onerous task. The action person has an onerous task because artists can be chaotic, artists can be anarchic, artists necessarily don't fit into, given stereotypes and given frameworks. They will keep bouncing out of the frame. So it needs enormous amount of managerial skill and persuasive skill and all that to put it all together. So I'm going to invite now each one of them to say how they, Bose probably first, he also has a presentation to speak about how the idea emerged, the little journey, and then how you see it moving ahead. But I'd request you to keep it short, we don't have too much time. That is one. After that, we'll get Nikhil to speak about the curation aspect of this festival and what the main propositions are and what he proposes to achieve in that. And finally, Mariam, if you can, I think you also have a presentation, Nikhil. So again, I request you to keep it concise. Yeah. And then the atom bomb I want from from Mariam to, sorry, you want to go second? Okay, that's fine. We can change the order. But I'd like you to really shed some light on some of the intricacies of what one needs to do to get a platform like this going and to put it together. Bose, can you begin?
Hortus was the real supporter of the Kochi Biennale, especially like Vivan Sundaram and many others, supported to initiate the festival. We didn't have any kind of place where we can have a contemporary art exhibition. So the first fund we have received 5 CR from the state government. We converted a place into a weather-controlled, climate-controlled space, which is Lalitkala Academies. With the help of Lalitkala Academy, we have made into one of the finest places called the Dabba Hall with that funds. Not the entire funds, we have used the maximum funds to make it a wonderful place into kind of contemporary art space. I just ran through it, we had some amazing, it is not just about painting, we have different kinds of mediums comes into Biennale building. So there is performance, there is video art, AI, the artists visit and create the spaces, learning from the site and create the spaces. So we wanted to embellish with the murals, so we have created some of the murals. We also have a pavilion where we have cultural programs and talks, cinema, curated, everything is curated festival. We have also got the temporary pavilion created by an artist or an architect. This is always won quite a lot of awards. With difficulties we have created all this festival. We have this Let's Talk series, even if it is a kind of year-long program. Program department takes care of it, and also residency programs. Music, performance program, curated film programming, Students Biennale, one of my favorites, vertical of the Kochi Biennale Foundation. We started with the 35 institute, now we have more than 150 institutions work very closely with curated exhibitions parallel to the main biennial. As Mr. Sadanand Menon mentioned, what is a Biennale? Biennale is an Italian word, which was the first Biennale happened in Venice, opened in Venice in 1895, 130th year now. When we look at the Biennale, we are very young, and we have also other verticals like art by children, invitations program. It's kind of new program initiated by the program director last year, and it's kind of international, institutions shows their projects. I have a 4 minutes video which will give you how we have developed this biennial and what are the kind of scale. Maybe can play this.
The contemporary art practice is very active, and then Kochi Biennale is going to be the real important kind of station where people can really gather, share information, and also talk about art.
It is, in every sense of the word, a people's biennale, and it takes risks. It shows works that are very important and artists from around the world.
You're not asked to go into a museum.
So as you know, the next edition, sixth edition, is curated by artist Nikhil Chopra and HH Art Spaces, which will open on 12th of December to 31st of March 2026, 110-day of Festival of Contemporary Culture. Thank you.
Actually, Sadanand has explained something to me that I have never known before. I always wondered why Bose came knocking at my door in 2022. And I've now realized it's because I'm my mother's daughter. Because I certainly have been born into a world of art. I have lived unquestioningly in a world of art. But I have made my life very far from art in a world of business. And I never saw myself as belonging to this world until I was pulled into it by books. So my association really only started in 2022 when I came on as a donor, doing my chauvinistic bit as a Malayali for a marquee Indian cultural event. I'm ashamed that the first time I ever visited the Kochi Biennale was in February 2023. But it was a moment. I was profoundly moved and deeply affected. The Biennale's significance is not just regional, is not even national. It is international. It has become India's cultural calling card and our most visible statement of creativity and innovation on this world stage. It is and should be a matter of enormous pride and connection to Kerala's population of over 36 million, for its diaspora of 3 million across India and 5 million internationally, 90% of whom are in the Gulf. In fact, I believe it should be a matter of pride for all 1.5 billion Indians. It holds a mirror to an India that I actually was born in and which I lived in. And the character I now realize was the character of the port city of Kochi. Multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multi-everything. Diverse, egalitarian, and a throwback to the original vision of the idea of India. In Kerala, the Biennale's impact is far more than just cultural. It is deeply economic. It has revitalized Kochi as a creative hub. It acts as a pop-up big business in a state that doesn't attract enough business or have enough jobs. It brings to Kochi business for auto rickshaws, business for luxury sedans, for tea shops, for fancy restaurants, for bed and breakfast, and for luxury hotels. It supports local businesses and cultivates a strong sense of cultural pride and community ownership. I have been on the road, nobody knows me, but I've been on the road with Bose. And I have seen people stop him and say, Sara, when is the next Biennale? That's how much it matters to every man who owns a tea shop in Kerala. It stands as an exceptional model of how art can impact and engage meaningfully with a place, with its history, with what should be its values and its people. Kochi is veritably and honestly a people's biennale. It is completely non-commercial, and that is something we're really proud of. It is donor financed. We want a day when it is entirely donor financed, where we don't have to put a single logo up on the walls. It is everybody's biennale. We keep entry to 200 rupees for an adult and free for children. And we don't even call them tickets anymore. We call them sponsorship receipts. The last edition, the one that I visited, and shamefully the first edition I visited, was marked again by absolutely wonderful art, but blighted by a lack of funds and very poor management, sorry, Bose, and accounting. We had to embark on a restructuring of the management and of the revenue streams. I'm going to weave between these, but I'm going to go chronologically. The first need, and this is the reason I jumped in here, was because this is the only skill I have. I can't do the art, but what I can do is run a small business and run it without debt. And that's what they really needed. The need of that hour was strong auditing and accounting. And I brought on board one of Kerala's best audit firms, Kurvilla and Jose. KM Jose has been absolutely wonderful, our backbone. He goes way beyond being our auditor. He doubles up as finance director, as compliance controller, as HR head, and he has made sure our accounts stand up to the strictest of scrutiny. Next, we had bills to pay. So we set up funding programs. We set up a benefactor program with 3 tiers, platinum, gold, and silver. Platinum was 1 crore a year for 5 years, 5 consecutive years, gold 50 lakhs and silver 25 lakhs. Just on a call, we got Kiran Nadar, Shabana Faisal, and Sangeeta Jindal signed up to become platinum benefactors. This actually helped us pay off all our debts of the last Biennale and helped us to form some kind of platform with which we could even consider a next Biennale. As of now, we have 7 platinum benefactors, and they provide the entire finance backbone for the foundation. We still have Shabana and Faisal, we have Adib and Shafina, we have Kiran Nadar, we have Sangeeta Jindal, Shefali Verma, and Anu Menda. Sadly, most of these people are from the west and north of India. This year, for the 6th edition, we have introduced a patron and supporter program. All major galleries, encouraged by Kiran Nadar, have supported us as gallery patrons. Okay. Tata Trusts have come on, which is a sign of is a very big sign for us because their auditing was really severe and was a sign of our restructuring and the strength of our auditing systems that we came through with flying colors, and they have given us 3 crores for this Biennale. The other platinum patrons who gave 1 crore are Aarti Lohia and Meenal Bajaj. Gold patrons have included Karan Bhagat, Air India, Firoza and Jamshid Godrej, Geeta Kapoor and Shreen Jangalwala, again, all from Bombay and Delhi. We must never forget that the main beneficiary of Kochi is Kochi and Kerala. It is important that the government, businesses, and individuals in Kerala support the Kochi Biennale. We are grateful that 7.5 crores for Kochi is in the government's budget for 25-26, and we hope we will get it. We have very recently got something that really excited us, a sanction letter for 1 crore from Federal Bank. This would be the first large contribution from a body corporate from Kerala. We hope it will encourage others. Once we had the auditors and the benefactors in place, we needed a chief executive. Once we had the auditors in place, what we really needed was a chief executive. And we were very fortunate that Thomas Varghese from Kochi had returned to the city after having studied at Lovedale.
The owners of the following vehicles.
After he had studied at Lovedale, Delhi, and the US, and after having completed an assignment with the UN. He was idealistic, young, and energetic, and has proven to be the chief executive of our dreams. Dr. Venu Vasudevan, on his retirement as Principal Secretary to the government, agreed to join our board as trustee and chairperson. He has been director of the National Museum prior to his time as Principal Secretary, and therefore understood and could strengthen both the art and the business aspect of the foundation. Another crying need was the amending of the original trust deed. When Bose had been approached, they had gone and tried to get a trust deed drawn up quickly so that they could receive the government funds. We needed to make this future-proof. We needed to make it truly a public deed in the public interest. This was done, and we were assisted in this by one of India's leading corporate and trust lawyers, Ferishteh Sethna of DMD Associates in Mumbai. Ferishteh is now a member of the Advisory Council and our legal advisor. Today, we are more stable and on an ambitious trajectory and on the threshold of the 6th edition. We are infinitely stronger and infinitely more compliant. This year, we are moving beyond Fort Kochi into Willingdon Island, and our aim is to move down the waterways through Kerala. Our aim, or my aim, is not just to stand beside Venice, Sao Paulo, and Gwangju, but to actually show the way forward.
Wow. You want to go there?
Namaskaram, everyone. My name is Nikhil Chopra. I'm an artist. I'm an old friend of Bose. We knew each other when we had hair on our heads. So we've been partnering on a lot of things, but also working very much parallelly to each other. We've always kind of watched Bose kind of take those courageous steps and be a risk taker and sort of pave the way for togetherness. And I really appreciate that this, yes, we can play the video. We can just play the video. I really appreciate the idea of the power of we that we have been invited to. So thank you very much for this invitation. 2 weeks from now, we will all be standing here in Aspinwall House. I thought I should take you on a little walk through the various venues that we have with a sense of excitement and a sense of anticipation. I thought I'd do this as a kind of this idea of giving you empty spaces for you to imagine 2 weeks from now, we will be here welcoming you in these very spaces where now art and contemporary art is being placed. I love the idea of gathering. I love the idea of togetherness. And I'm really excited to be part of a whole group of people. We are teams within teams within teams. And when I was invited to put together this Biennale, I very naturally reached out to the team that I work with back home, and that's HH Art Spaces. We started in 2014, very close to when the Biennale was established. And I think we started with a very similar sense of urgencies of, can India be a fertile ground for artists to come to make, exhibit, and share their ideas from all around the world? And I think that really has changed the game for us in the past 15, 20 years that we've all been working very hard for. And when Bose and I were traveling around the world as artists being invited in early parts of the 2000s, I think that's the question that came up a lot. Like, what would make the difference? And making a site that is alive, that is vibrant, bringing art to audiences in India was really where the game changed. I wanted to, just for a second, just also take note of Sadanand sir's idea of who are we? What are we? Are we a bird? Are we a plane? And if I had to pick one, I'd say we're a bird, because at the end of the day, we don't want to be in cages. We don't want categories. We want to fly. And we want to fly and in flight, what we don't want is borders. We don't want boundaries. We don't want to be restrained and restricted, while understanding that our limitations are our bodies, but they are also our tools for us to be able to achieve things that are larger than us, more than us. And this idea of flight, which seems impossible for us as human beings, is something that art and the imagination allows us to do. The sites that we have are certainly not white cube spaces. They're certainly not spaces where one would imagine art to be. But there are spaces where our imagination is awakened, right? Because these are all old warehouses sitting on a port town right by the water, interacting with ships and boats that pass by. In a sense, it is a Venice of the now, right? And this is what I feel really brings Kochi. It puts Kochi in a very interesting place as far as, what makes Kochi an interesting site for an international exhibition. We have been occupying several buildings along the palm of Fort Kochi. If you can imagine Kerala and Kochi and this exhibition as a body, because we are artists who are working with our body. We are artists who are working with liveness, and that's, in a sense, that sensibility is something that we brought to this biennial. Like, for example, we really enjoyed stripping the buildings of all, false walls, false ceilings, to expose, in a sense, the bones of the Biennale, right? And as the art comes in, it sort of starts to become like the flesh of the Biennale. And the people, as we move through this exhibition, when it opens in our thousands and hundreds of thousands, we will become, in a sense, the blood that will flow through these bodies. So we are thinking about this as a very corporeal experience, very much as an experience that is not just contained within the body, but comes from the body. We're even thinking about not just these buildings as static buildings, but we're thinking about them and their history of all the goods that moved through, the spices that moved through, the trade that came through, the colonizers that came here, the traders that came here, the exploitation that happened, the exchange that happened. The bodies that passed through these spaces are still embedded, deeply embedded in these walls. You can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it, and they are very, very visceral spaces. And in that, what we've done is we've invited artists to create works in response to these sites. Not just make works in their studios, pack them up and send them to us, but we've actually invited artists to be present with us in these spaces and make work from here as opposed to off here. So the idea always right from the beginning, and I think I really appreciate all the various previous editions that not only I've been part of as an artist, but I've also been part of as an organizer, is that the site really is the inspiration. And the site really is the place from where the conversation and the dialogue starts. Things that we have looked for in the 66 artists that we have invited to the Biennale is how is the artist's body implicated in what they're doing? And how do we invite bodies of people to interact with this body? Or how does an artist spend time in his studio in collaboration and conversation, not just with objects and material, but with people that come together to make what it is that they do? And how is it that union of bringing together material and bodies create another body, which is the body of the artwork? The idea is to not just present a static exhibition. Yes, we have paintings on walls. Yes, we will have sculptures on pedestals. But the idea is that there is a dynamism in the way in which we want to present. It's not the what that we are excited about, but it's also the how that we are very excited about. Is how do we transfer that experience, that knowledge, and that process of making onto you and invite you in to be part of that experience as a dynamic person. This is not an offering of an exhibition on a silver tray, but this is an exhibition where the making in the exhibition is very much part of the work as much as the exhibition is. So a lot of the artists that we have invited are bridging the gap between what does it mean to be in a studio and what does it mean to be in an exhibition. A lot of the artists are going to be present in their space as performers, but as live bodies, shifting and moving through their spaces in a continuous, evolving sort of state of being. And that's something that has really kind of excited and informed us. That we don't necessarily present something that is finished, but we present something that is starting and finishing and starting and finishing and starting and finishing through the 110 days of the Biennale. right? Which is why we call our exhibition For the Time Being. That's the title. It stayed with us. It came to us very quickly. And when I say us, we are 9 of us who are co-curating this Biennale. Each and every one of us is here in Kochi right now. This is our home. We live here. We've been living here for the past 5 months, and we plan to live here 4 months. We plan to live here all the way until March. Because we're very aware that this is not just an exhibition. This is a moment or a series of moments. And in order for us to present them as a series of moments, it's not just to parachute and drop from the sky, but for us to take you through these moments as a team, as us being together, because together is when we are stronger, right? And you will meet each and every one of the people who have come to curate this exhibition when you come and visit us. But it is really this idea of not conforming to something that is static, right? How do we, sorry, as you can see, I have I'm probably in the busiest and most intensely sort of engaging experience of my life. I was just leaning over and speaking to Mariam and Sadanand sir and saying that this feels like a performance, really, like a long durational, immensely immersive performance, which is lasting like a year, actually. So it's really, and my persona as the actor is really feeling like I'm wearing the persona of a curator, right? Because this is the extraordinary situation that the Biennale puts us in, right? We're really aware that we are making something that's much larger than us, much larger than life, much larger than you and me, because we're really interested in this idea of the collective body, right? Not just the individual, right? And that's why I love the way you started the conversation by problematizing the identity of this Biennale, that it should not be one thing. It can't be one thing. It's malleable. It's like clay. We should be able to bend it and move it and shape shift as we go through. And one of the exciting things that, if we can say, has been an amazing partnership, of course, friendship with Bose as an old friend and friendship with Mariam as a new friend, has really been about how does this Biennale sort of pave the way for the next Biennale and create an anticipation for the next Biennale. And one of the things that we've done, I feel, which is the adventure of where we come in, is to not just have the spaces that the Biennale has occupied in the past, but also bring in new spaces, old spaces, but also new spaces. And I'm not talking about old and new in a sense of we didn't have it then, but we have it now. But I'm also talking about the age of some of these buildings, right? It's also kind of entering these warehouses and sort of setting up these exhibitions. And there has been really probably one of the most ambitious aspects of this project, right? But at the end of the day, I think what we are really excited about is not limiting ourselves to just Fort Kochi and Matancherry, but taking the boat across the water onto Willingdon Island and really kind of opening the exhibition up in a whole nother set of circumstances where we're occupying a warehouse that is 100 meters long by 20 meters wide and creating an extraordinary garden, if you will, of art and installations, videos and objects and memories of people, that artists that are going to be on display, that you will not just walk past, but that you will walk in and you will walk through. We are very interested in how this exhibition is not just about putting you in a position where you are the observer and the art is on the wall, but you are the object in that space as much as the object that you're looking at. The art is also looking back at you just as much as you are looking at it. So this exchange, this vibrant, visceral, pulsating, energetic exchange is at the core, I think, of what this Biennale and I think of what Kochi is and has been. The challenges are, as you can understand, and I think this is the case of every Biennale in the world, right? It is the coming together of not just art, but it's the coming together of art and politics. It's the coming together of art, politics, the city, the neighborhood, the marketplace, the people who run it. It's really very much the ambition of an exhibition like this, which is what makes it feel impossible. But it's about how we can submit to that process and allow for trust to enter us and for us to be able to create this exceptional experience. Like, for example, a piece like this, and in a space like this, what you will see is, this is, of course, not what it looks like right now. What it looks like right now is very close to what it's going to look like when you come and visit. But I thought that it was interesting to show you what these spaces look like in a before situation and what these spaces are going to look like when we put the art in here. For example, over here, there's going to be this pond and this garden with fruits and flowers by a Nigerian artist who's based in Holland called Otobong Kanga, who's going to be setting up a fountain and a place for people to rest. So this is also very important, that the idea of art is not just for us to create this active space and active presence, but also offer people a place to sit, to breathe, to relax in this intensely warm, sweaty, heavy, tropical environment, right? It's not about ticking all the boxes, but it's also unticking some of those boxes and taking this moment to actually feel present with us in our spaces. One of the registers that we use when we went out there and were selecting artists to be part of this exhibition, I kind of said that what we want to look for in every artwork is the presence of the artist in their artwork. It's not necessary that all the artwork in this exhibition is live, but all the artwork in this exhibition is alive. Every single work that you will see is vibrating and pulsating with life. And when I say that, I'm even talking about artists that we've invited to this exhibition who aren't alive anymore. But when you see their work, you can feel their breath, you can feel their presence. And this is something that's also coming out of a reaction of how alienated we are in this world and the digitized world, right? We are completely absorbed and hypnotized by our cell phones and the internet. So it's this idea of being alive and feeling alive and connecting face to face, body to body, eye to eye, is an extremely important feeling of an exchange that we want to bring to this idea of what does it mean to be in an exhibition. And with that, I just want to say thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you all. We all do look forward to seeing you all in exactly 2 weeks from today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nikhil. And I think probably we have crossed the boundary of time a bit, but I've been also told that the next session has been cancelled or postponed, so we might take 10 minutes more. Just to toss out an idea, which all of you could comment on, reflect on, whatever. Poised on the cusp of the 6th Biennale now. The Biennale itself is on the verge or on a peculiar pedestal. It's on the verge of being declared a success. It has held together for 15 years. It has proven its worth. It's become international. It is talked about globally. It's talked, like you say, it's maybe on par with Venice and Sao Paulo and Guangzhou and so on, or even further. And every curatorial intervention from artists has made it even more open. Now, this is it kind of brings it very close to what's largely called the culture industry. So it becomes peculiarly dependent upon high capital, on high philanthropy, on high economics, and so on and so forth, to do simple things. You might, in the curatorial process, include very simple artistic processes or artists who come from almost subsistence level practice. But to get them into that frame, to get them into the system, you need a structure. You need a Mariam Ram, you need a KM Jose, you need a whole system to support that. The architecture of the system becomes carries its own weight. And that weight can be very damaging after a point of time. It might become its own enemy, where you don't allow flexibility, you don't, because it needs to be a success each time. And so how does one, how do you say, consciously work against one's own success? Is that possible? Is it possible? Now, for example, when Nikhil says that a very clear curatorial idea in this edition is not to wait for the finished product, to see things as they move, as they grow, probably collapse, probably develop, probably don't develop, but to have that space. Now, does that become sustainable in the context of a larger idea of a biennale, of something that you're showcasing? So, this idea of showcasing something that is unfinished or something that might even be a failure, while it's acceptable when an individual does it. If I, as an artist, if I, as a writer, if I, as a filmmaker, do something which doesn't work, it doesn't work. But when such a big ecological system doesn't get into the groove, then are there consequences? It's like the Indian cricket team losing to South Africa. A lot of heads will have to roll. So much investment has gone into it, etc., etc. So, how does one make this whole experience more playful? Enable it to be playful through the kind of sustainability that the structure will bring into it, the finance will bring into it. I think it's something that we need to really engage with, because we must always remember that this project, if you want to call it that, began in the initial stage as a pushback, as a speak back to power, to the power structures. I remember Bose's double-enders in Bombay. I mean, it was an extraordinary breakthrough of collectivization of artists, of getting them together, who all they're looking for is collective energy. They're not looking for anything else. Just that power of the logo also for the Hortus this year, I, we, us kind of thing. That worked, and that was a statement by itself against the government structures and the other, capitalist structures, we want to call it that. But will the success and the growing, I mean, the Biennale is not going to stay small. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, that's a demand from within. You can't say, okay, this year's Biennale we have 80 artists. Next year we'll do with 40. It's not going to happen. The public will demand things. Media will demand, all kind of things will happen. So, I can give a parallel with the mainstream media, for example. One of the reasons why the mainstream media has made itself redundant almost and made itself anti-journalism is the fact that it's so dependent on advertisement revenue and so dependent on government support and advertisement that it's a basic function of speaking to people what is happening around, the truth-telling business, that's gone in the background. So you have a whole lot of new alternatives emerging on the web, etc., etc. So will the existence of Biennale lead to that kind of splintering is a question that I have. It's a critical question. You're welcome to answer it in your own ways.
Sadanand, that's something that I've really anguished over, because it's not, it's just a question of, in a country where there's so much deprivation, supporting the arts is seen to be almost frivolous. I mean, you can get people to support basically, mainly you get people to support religion, temples, churches, gurdwaras, that they're happy to do. You get people to support homes for the poor. But to get someone to actually see how important art is, and that they have to turn the eye of their philanthropy this way, is very difficult. The only thing I believe is that I believe it has to be enabled to be unstoppable. The Biennale has to be enabled to be unstoppable. The two things that I think in my limited view, that are really essential is that people like me have to have a Chinese wall between me and them. I cannot interfere with them. I cannot. I drive them crazy. I mean, who's ready to kill me? But the fact is that I try very, very hard to stay out of their head and to try and collect money. And nobody understands just how difficult it is because it is. I mean, I'm like some LIC agent. People run away when they see me. They don't want to look at me because all I'm doing is collecting money. But it's I mean, like Picasso famously said, the duty of art is to wash the dust off your soul. And I frankly think that in a country like ours, there's a lot of dust in our souls. And we have to get out and wash it.
I believe that we need Kiran Nadar kind of people. I believe uh, I wish there were 28 Kiran Nadar in each in our country. The same way, for the Biennale, Kochi Biennale, my foundation's trustees, their involvement given strength this year. Of course, it was initiated by artists, but the patronage definitely matter when it comes to culture building. Their commitment, from when I think about the beginning of the biennial, uh, for example, Dr. Svetal Patel, when we have invited him, it was a kind of trust that, we are connected with people. But how do we build culture that needed to be, it cannot be taught, but we need to create places. What has happened in Kochi is we created spaces for learning, site for learning through the help of the people. So it's become, and the curiosity of Kochi's and Kerala's people built that, given us the confidence. And I'm sure the coming biennales are also, it is important that artists curate. It doesn't have to be they are experienced curators. Artist is a process maker. And that is one of the reasons I think incomplete work is never, I believe that it's also completed in a way that the process, that moment for time being is important. So that site we can learn so much from that. And I really wanted to thank my trustees and advisors. Because of that, we came back after 1 year of break and with clarity and with Nikhil Chopra's contribution going to be incredible. I wanted to just say one more thing. We have 22 venues this time, more than previous editions, and also 8 collaterals. There were collaterals that we had more than 200 applications. It was a kind of international jury selected all those kind of people. Everything is curated. You are all. Thank you so much. I just want to thank. I know we are all gone to time. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I think you have really. Want to say a last word?
Just to add and react to your question, I think it's really important that we don't aspire to be anything that we are not. Right? This idea of what is successful, what is failure, what is good, what is bad. I think we need to move a little away from these notions of binaries. And who is really judging us? Like, who is sitting there with a report card, writing these reviews about what we are and what we want to do? I think we just have to be really truthful and in our skin, honest to what it is that our calling is, and react and feel that we need to just connect simply and demystify this idea of what art is, how it needs to be experienced, what is an audience, what they needs to be experienced, who this art is for, who it's for not. I think this is really, I feel, partly where some of these problems lie. So if we were able to erase all of that, and start fresh, right, and say, this is our Biennale. And that's what this Biennale really wants you to say, that everyone must feel like this is our Biennale. And nobody gets to tell us how it's to be done, right? Because this is, we are making this moment together based on how we are.
Right, thank you. I think that says it all, and thank you very much for being a patient audience.